Revealed, how a poor maid with her baby made an incredible choice to save a billionaire's son. Maria woke before dawn, the first light spilling through her window, illuminating the cramped corners of her home. She hurriedly slipped on her worn sneakers, their soles barely holding up for yet another day. Adjusting her fraying apron, she took a deep breath, her heart swelling with purpose. She was not just a maid, she was a mother, fierce and relentless in her quest to provide for little Matteo, her infant son. Every scrape of her broom echoed with hope, a stubborn rebellion against the odds stacked against her. Today felt different. Maria was hired for a community fundraiser at the illustrious mansion of Richard Hayes, a billionaire whose name floated around town like an unreachable star. Walking through manicured lawns and past grand pillars, she marveled at the opulence that felt so foreign yet so tantalizing. As the guests flitted about, sipped champagne, and laughed in their designer attire, Maria maneuvered through the crowd with humility, her heart heavy with the weight of her worries. Yet in the whirl of glitz, an eruption shattered the air. Panic ensued. Richard's son, Alex, had vanished in the chaos. Whispers bubbled around Maria like a boiling pot, eyes narrowing on her as if her very presence had conjured the disappearance. She felt their judgment, the whispers, turning sharp like daggers, cut through her heart, a poor maid, in charge of a precious life. But her instincts kicked in. She couldn't let fear distract her. She had to find Alex. Navigating the opulent mansion felt like an intricate game of chess, each corner a new challenge. Memories of sleepless nights with Matteo flashed through her mind. Every sacrifice she made surged within her, igniting her spirit. She wouldn't let allegations steal her resolve. She refused to let the disparities of wealth cloud the truth. Maria felt lost yet empowered, the flicker of hope igniting a fire in her heart. Then, amid the chaos, she spotted a tiny shoe near the garden's edge, a clue. Her heart raced with adrenaline. Before diving deeper, she remembered her community, the friends who stood strong beside her, and the unwavering love of her little Matteo. They can help, she thought, dialing her friends. That phone call ignited a flicker of unity, people swiftly gathering to aid her search. But with that unity also came a choice: reveal secrets that could doom her or protect her own son and Alex. Maria hesitated, her heart pounding like thunder in her chest. The cost of honesty felt heavier than ever. Would this stark truth set things right, or trap her in a web of precariousness? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As urgency encircled her, Maria stood at a crossroads. The weight of the world bore down on her shoulders. Should she protect her son or shield Alex? Her motherly instincts clashed like stormy waves against the serene facade of wealth surrounding her. In those fleeting moments, she glimpsed not just the separation of social classes but a reflection of shared humanity. And in that reckoning, would courage reign, or would silence prevail? The echo of unanswered questions hung in the air, as she took a shaky breath, stepped forward, and braced herself for whatever lay ahead. As Maria's heart raced, she felt the stirring of determination rise within her. The guests, once oblivious to her humble presence, now began to notice her urgency. Whispers around her morphed into hushed tones of concern as she noticed the concerned eyes of a few guests observing her closely. "Where did you find that shoe?" one woman asked, her designer dress contrasting sharply with Maria's worn apron. "By the garden's edge," Maria replied, her voice steady but strained. The hint of urgency caught the woman's attention, her brow furrowed with worry. She turned to gather help from others, but Maria knew she couldn't wait. Every second counted. Maria sprinted toward the back of the mansion, the whispers of doubt forming shadows behind her. She had to refocus. It wasn't just about finding Alex. It was about protecting her son, her life, her world. She pictured Matteo's laughter, the warmth of his tiny fingers clutching her hand. That image propelled her forward. "Alex!" she called out, desperation woven into every syllable. The garden loomed large and tranquil, deceiving in its peace. But where did it hide secrets? Her friends arrived on the scene, each armed with determination to help. They fanned out in different directions, combing the sprawling grounds. "Maria!" one of her friends, Elena, shouted, kneeling beside a bush. "Look here!" Maria rushed over, and together they pushed aside the leaves. A small figure lay curled up, Alex, fast asleep, safe but lost among the greenery. The sight of him brought both relief and a rush of emotion. "Thank God," Maria breathed, barely able to suppress her tears. She turned to Elena, feeling the weight of her choice a revelation that could change everything. But it was Alex's gentle face that brought clarity to her swirling thoughts. Slowly, she knelt beside him, her fingers brushing his cheek. The motherly instincts within her waged a silent war. Letting her son's future intertwine with a young boy of privilege felt reckless, yet stifling the truth gnawed at her heart. As Maria began to shake Alex awake, footsteps crunched from behind. Richard Hayes himself stormed into the garden, panic etched deep across his brow. The sight of his son nestled safely in the bushes caused a wave of emotion to crest over him. Relief and anger flickered in his eyes as he took in the scene before him. "What happened?" Richard demanded, the urgency in his voice cutting through the air. Maria's heart thudded heavily within her chest. This was the moment. The choice was now or never. She took a breath, feeling the companions at her back, urging her on. "I found him," she said, her voice trembling. "But I need to tell you something." Richard's gaze sharpened, uncertainty lighting up his features. "What do you mean?" A wave of fear washed over her. Should she spill her truth, exposing secrets that could unravel her life? Or should she protect Matteo and shield Alex beneath the weight of her silence? In this universe of privilege and labor, could there be a way for them all to coexist? "Maria," a voice called from her team, "we're with you." With their support echoing in her ears, she could no longer hold back. The truth begged to be free, as though it had found its own voice. She began, and suddenly, she realized the battle against herself had just begun. Now, as she stood tethered to her son's futures, would she choose to liberate all their lives, or cling to the safety of her secret? With eyes locked on Richard's, she braced herself for a moment that could tip her world forever. What would she do? And would Richard be prepared for the fallout? The revelation trembled on her lips. "Maria." Elena's voice broke through her thoughts, slicing through the thick tension in the air like a knife. "We're right here. You can do this." With a deep breath swelling her chest, Maria stared into Richard's eyes. They were stormy, a mix of confusion and protectiveness that mirrored the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Would he understand? Would he see the connection that was there, hidden beneath all the chaos? "Alex and Matteo," Maria stalled, feeling the words sticking in her throat like dry sand. The roar of her heart echoed in her ears, drowning out the ambient sounds of the garden. "They are friends," she finally forced out, "but it's more than that. Their lives are tied together in ways you might not realize." Richard's brow furrowed deeper. She could see the wheels turning in his mind as he processed her tension. "What are you saying?" The words spilled out of her, rushing with the urgency she felt all around her. "Matteo is my son, Richard. I am his mother, and Alex's friendship means the world to both of them. But, it's complicated. I work here because I have to provide for him. It's all I've ever done." Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. She didn't dare look away from Richard's brows. His expression shifted from anger to something softer. It was as if she de-leveled a giant wall, exposing the cracks of uncertainty beneath. The guests who had joined to help stood back, their whispers dissolving into a stunned quiet. Your son? Richard echoed, incredulous and disbelieving. The way he leaned in, searching her face, made her feel raw and exposed. Yes, Richard. Matteo is mine. I wanted to protect him from this world, a world that doesn't see past the surface, she admitted, feeling the truth like a weight lifted just a little more from her chest. There it was, the truth, laid bare like a fragile flower blooming amidst thorns. She had passed through the shadowy realms of secrecy, revealing things she had kept so close to her heart. Richard looked as if he was being pulled into two very different worlds. But why didn't you say anything sooner? Maria's chest tightened at the unspoken judgment in his voice. Because I was scared. Scared of the conclusions, the assumptions, she whispered, her vulnerability spilling onto the grass between them. You live in a world where people like me are invisible. My past, my struggles. I'm Maria, he interjected softly, his expression shifting from anger to concern. You shouldn't have had to hide that part of your life. It doesn't change who you are. As she looked at Richard, emotions danced in the depths of his green eyes, steely resolve mixed with compassion. He was no longer just the man in a suit addressing a problem but a father, someone who cared deeply for his son. A weight shifted between them, a fragile bridge forming. But before she could grasp that thread of hope, Richard's phone buzzed loudly, shattering the moment. He glanced at the screen, and a frown overtook his face. Excuse me, he said, stepping back to answer the call. Maria's heart sank a little. What she believed was a moment that could create a new future was now hanging by a thread. As the conversation dragged on, she caught snippets of phrases like, the board, and, emergency meeting. Within seconds, his focus returned to her, irritation etched into his features. Listen, there's a lot to unravel here. He ran a hand through his hair, tension crackling around him. But right now, I need to handle this. Can we talk later? Maria nodded, feeling her heart race again. Of course. As Richard turned to leave, Alex stirred awake, rubbing his eyes and blissfully unaware of the unfolding chaos around him. When their eyes met, the innocence in Alex's gaze rekindled the fire of determination within her. Do what you must, she murmured softly, the path ahead still clouded in uncertainty. But I'll be waiting. Richard glanced back at her, the faint glimmer of understanding flickering between them. Maria, he hesitated, this isn't over. I promise. And with that, he was gone, leaving Maria alone with the weight of her choice still lingering in the air. Would the truth bring them closer or tear them apart? She held her breath, feeling the precarious balance of hope and fear hovering around her. What was the storm that awaited her now? And would it finally cleanse away the shadows of her past? Maria stood there, the fading warmth of Richard's presence still tingling against her skin. She could hear the distant laughter of the party guests, blissfully unaware of the turmoil spiraling in her chest. The chatter, the clinking of glasses, it all felt like a world away, as if she had been submerged under water, hearing muffled sounds above. Are you okay, Maria? Elena's gentle voice nudged her back from the edge of her whirlwind thoughts. Maria turned to see her sister's concerned face. You looked like you were about to sink right into the ground, she added with a forced lightness. I'm fine, Maria lied, forcing a smile that felt like a mask. The weight of her truth pressed down on her. Could it really be fine? Could she live with the tension of what had just been unveiled? Elena's eyes pierced through her facade. No, you're not. What happened? Taking a breath, Maria looked around. The garden she had long cherished for its beauty now felt suffocating. I told Richard about Matteo, about being his mother. Elena's mouth fell open, surprise etched across her face. You did what? I couldn't hide it anymore. He needed to know how intertwined our lives are. But her voice dropped to a whisper, now I'm not sure if I made the right choice. Maria, you've always been brave. No one can take that away from you. Elena reached for her hand, squeezing it for support. But what if he can't accept it? A rush of fear twisted in Maria's stomach. What if he sees me as unworthy? What if he decides it's too much? He has a life of luxury, and I am just me. Elena shook her head vigorously. You're so much more than that. He cares about you, about Matteo. You deserve this chance, sister. Don't let fear dictate how you tell your story. As Elena spoke, the sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue that shimmered against the vibrant flowers. Each bloom seemed to nod in agreement, and for a moment, hope flickered in Maria's heart. Maybe, just maybe, Richard wouldn't turn away. Maria! Alex called out, his tiny voice cutting through the tension once more. He dashed toward her, his little feet padding against the grass. Can we go play? I want to pick flowers. The innocence in her son's smile was infectious. It lit a spark in her heart, chasing shadows away. Yes, let us, she replied, kneeling to his level, her worries momentarily forgotten. As they walked hand in hand, Maria felt her confidence returning. Each step with Alex was a reminder of the love she had cultivated through struggle and sacrifice. Even though the path ahead was uncertain, her resolve began to blend with warmth. Amidst laughter and flowers, Maria couldn't shake the thought of Richard lingering in her mind. Would he still care for her after all she had revealed? Would the revelations they both faced pull them together or tear them apart? As they bent to gather the flowers, her heart raced at the uncertainty. But then she saw a flower that stood out among the rest, its petals bold and vibrant, unlike anything else around. Mama, this one is special. Alex exclaimed, pointing to it excitedly. Yes, it is, Maria murmured softly, a metaphor shaking through her mind. Like that flower, bold in a sea of uncertainty, she too had to bloom. Just then, her phone buzzed, shattering the moment yet again. With shaky hands, she unlocked the screen. It was a message from Richard. Can we meet? I've been thinking about what you said. A rush of emotion washed over her. What was he thinking? Would this be the moment that binds their lives together, or would it lead to another layer of heartache? Maria took a deep breath, letting determination wash over her. Let us see where this leads, she whispered to herself, gathering strength from the innocent flowers in her hand. And with hope blooming in her heart, she wondered what awaited them both next. Maria stood still, her heart thundering in her chest as she stared at the message on her phone. Richard had been thinking about what she said. A mix of excitement and dread coursed through her veins. It felt surreal, this moment holding the potential to change everything. Are you okay, Mama? Alex tugged at her hand, pulling her back to the present. Yes, sweetheart, she said, forcing a smile. Just thinking about something important. With a few quick taps on her phone, she agreed to meet Richard. They decided on a cafe nearby, a quaint little place known for its gardens. Perfect. It was a spot that often felt like a little slice of paradise. But today, the thought of walking into that cafe felt like plunging into a storm. Can we go home first? Alex interrupted her racing thoughts, his expression hopeful as he looked up at her. I want to show you the flowers we picked. Of course, let us do that, she said, ruffling his hair affectionately. The innocent joy in his eyes ground her, calming the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside. Once home, Maria followed Alex as he led the way to the kitchen table. He excitedly dumped the little bouquet of flowers onto the surface, arranging them as best as his small hands could. Look, Mama. This one is pink. And this one is yellow. Maria chuckled softly. There was something magical about the way Alex could turn even the simplest moments into adventures. Yet, her thoughts returned to Richard. How would he react? How could she bridge the gap between their very different worlds? Suddenly, the doorbell rang, jolting her from her thoughts. A pang of anxiety tightened in her chest. It surely wasn't Richard, yet she felt grateful for the distraction. Maria opened the door to find their neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, standing on the porch with a warm loaf of bread. "I thought I'd bring you this. It's fresh out of the oven, dear." "Thank you so much, Mrs. Jenkins, this is lovely." Maria smiled genuinely, but it was short-lived as she took the bread, her mind racing again. Would she have the courage to be honest with Richard? In the living room, Alex was proudly showing off his flowers when he noticed the bread. His eyes lit up. "Can I have some, please?" "Of course," she replied, cutting him a slice. As he munched happily, the sweet, warm scent of bread filled the air. For a moment, everything felt right, simple, loving, and perfect, but that moment was fleeting. Maria's mind was consumed with questions. She kept replaying Richard's reaction in her mind, his expressions, the tone of his voice. Would he be understanding? Would he walk away? She glanced at the clock, the minute hand ticking down toward their meeting. It was a steady reminder that time was passing and that clarity awaited her. "Alex, sweetie, how about we get dressed for a little outing?" "Yay! Where are we going?" he asked, hopping from foot to foot. "We're going to see a friend of mine," Maria responded, though the details were vague. She pulled clothes from the cupboard, her mind racing, contemplating how to frame her story. As they dressed, she felt a rush of determination. Perhaps she could be strong, just like that vibrant flower from the garden. She had to believe in herself. Finally ready, Maria looked at her son one last time, brushing back a few stubborn strands of hair from his forehead. "Whatever happens today, remember that I love you. You're my special little flower." "Love you too, Mama," he chirped, his innocent joy boosting her spirits. With a deep breath, Maria took Alex's hand, feeling the warmth of his little fingers wrapped around hers. Together they stepped out into a world that felt like a gamble, one where love was the ultimate prize. As they arrived at the cafe, she noticed Richard already waiting. His figure was slightly tense, but hope flickered as he looked up and caught her gaze, a mixture of uncertainty and eagerness in his eyes. She could feel the build-up of emotions, like a tightrope stretched between them. Would this meeting be the start of a deeper bond, or would the truth unravel everything she held dear? Taking a step forward, she knew she was about to find out just how deep love could run. Maria took a deep breath, the aroma of coffee and freshly baked pastries washing over her like a wave of nostalgia. She tightened her grip on Alex's hand and pulled him closer, trying to shield him from any potential storms that might brew in the cafe. It was a nurturing instinct, one that made her feel protective yet terrified. "Can we sit there?" Alex pointed to a cozy corner by the window, sunlight streaming in, lighting up the small table with warmth. Maria nodded, grateful for his enthusiasm. They sat down, their table adorned with a small vase of wildflowers, a cheerful contrast to the whirlwind of emotions spiraling inside her. Richard stood up, brushing his hands over his trousers, a nervous habit she had come to recognize. His smile, tentative yet genuine, filled her with a flicker of hope. "Hi, Maria." His voice, deep and soothing, offered solace amidst her uncertainty. "Hey, Richard," she replied, trying to match his relaxed demeanor, even as her heart raced. She glanced at Alex, who was watching Richard with curious eyes. "Is this your son?" Richard asked, amusement dancing in his gaze as he took in Alex's wild enthusiasm. "Yes, this is Alex." "Alex, say hello to Mr. Richard," Maria prompted, her heart pleading with the universe for things to go well. "Hi, Mr. Richard." Alex chirped, waving enthusiastically. The sight of her son's joyful innocence made her ache inside. How would Richard respond to the truth? "Nice to meet you, Alex. You look like you've been on an adventure today." Richard replied, crouching slightly to match the boy's level. The moment was pure, laughter hovered in the air, breaking the tension before it even had a chance to settle. After a moment, Richard straightened and their eyes met once again. The warmth of his gaze seemed to cut through the rising tension, but Maria felt a monumental weight press on her chest. It was now or never. "So, Richard," she began, her voice faltering and quiet. She swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how loud her thoughts screamed, drowning out the cafe's background noise of chatter. "There's something I need to talk to you about." His expression shifted, the smile faded, replaced by a serious concern. "What is it?" His gaze locked onto her, and she felt as if he could see right through her facade. Maria looked towards Alex, who was now fiddling with the flowers on the table, oblivious to the brewing heaviness in the air. She wanted to protect him from whatever turbulence might follow her revelation, but how could she shield her child from the truth? She took a deep breath. "I want you to know that Alex and I we haven't always had it easy." The words began tumbling out, fueled by the fear of rejection but guided by the desperate need for honesty. Richard remained silent, his eyes flickering with concern and interest. He leaned in closer, clearly hanging on her every word. For a moment, the depths of his attention soothed her. As she spoke about their lives, Maria felt an unexpected surge of strength. She described the struggles, the sacrifices, and the love woven through it all. Each word she shared broke her heart just a little more, yet it also stitched new hope into the fabric of her being. "I didn't expect to feel this way," he finally said, considering her truth with a mix of shock and admiration. "I thought you were just a maid." Silence permeated their small bubble, filling the space with unfinished thoughts and unvoiced fears. How could he react to her honesty? Would it change everything? She broke the quiet by adding, "I didn't want you to know the worst of me without showing you the best too." Richard stayed still, processing. The seconds felt like hours, and Maria's heart raced with uncertainty. Would he understand? "I need time to think," he finally said, the gravity of his words shifting everything. His eyes, once warm, now held a shadow of contemplation. As they sat at the cafe, Maria felt the ground beneath her shift, something profound and scary taking root. Even in that vulnerable moment, hope flickered dimly, like the glow of the little wildflowers between them. Before she could collect her thoughts, she caught Alex gazing at Richard with wide, innocent eyes. "Are you going to be my friend, Mr. Richard?" The question hung in the air, bright and pure, sweeping up the tension and placing it gently aside. Richard looked at Alex, then back at Maria, caught between a world of uncertainty and a budding connection. "Maybe," he replied slowly, as if the word itself was still taking shape. The air outside seemed to shift as they stepped deeper into unknown territory, and Maria could only wonder, how would this transformative meeting unfold? Would love be strong enough to bridge their worlds? With hearts laid bare and hope on the horizon, both Maria and Richard faced a next step that felt monumental, as if they were about to step off a precipice into a new beginning. The silence that followed Alex's innocent question seemed to stretch on, wrapping around them like an unseen fog. Maria's heart raced as she watched Richard's expression flicker between uncertainty and contemplation. She could feel her stomach twist in knots, recalling the tightrope she had been walking since the moment their worlds collided. "Maybe," Richard echoed, almost to himself. His eyes drifted away from Maria and Alex, focusing somewhere far beyond the cafe's walls. Maria's pulse quickened, she could see the gears turning in his mind, deciding how to navigate this delicate situation. "Mr. Richard," Alex's voice piped up again, cutting through the stillness. "If you become my friend, we can go on adventures together. We could explore, like pirates." The child's imagination was a powerful antidote, infusing the air around them with lightness despite the heaviness of the moment. Richard's lips quirked into a smile at Alex's enthusiasm. It was fleeting, but enough to make Maria hold her breath, hoping it would linger. "Pirates, huh? Sounds exciting." He chuckled lightly, yet the fleeting joy was mixed with a weight that felt unshakable. "Yeah. And I have this treasure map," Alex continued, holding out his tiny hands as if he were showing an invisible scroll, his eagerness brightening the corners of the cafe. Maria couldn't help but smile at Alex. He had this way of making the world feel like it had the potential for anything. But the smile faded quickly as reality gnawed at her insides. There was still so much left unsaid, so many walls yet to chip away at. "Richard," she began tentatively, hesitant to interrupt Alex's burst of creativity. I didn't come here just to share our struggles. I want you to understand how remarkable this little guy is. He deserves people who see him for more than just any label, much like how I hoped you would see me." Her voice was steady, empowered by maternal instinct. A contemplative look washed over Richard's face, and for a moment, Maria thought he was finally connecting the dots. The chaos of their lives was not defined by circumstance but by the choices they made, the courage to face the truth. "I'm sorry," Richard murmured. "I never imagined." He paused, letting emotions weave themselves into his words. "You've been so strong. It's just different from what I'm used to. I need to process it all." "That's okay." Maria breathed out softly, her sincerity shining through the hurt. "I wouldn't expect anything else. Just know that we're not just a struggle. We're a family." Alex, sensing the tension, looked back and forth between them. "Can we play pirates then?" His wide eyes lit up with innocence. Richard chuckled again, the tension loosening just slightly. "All right, Captain Alex. What's our first adventure?" Maria's heart swelled with pride as she watched her son take charge of the imaginary ship, drawing Richard into his world. But deep down, uncertainty clawed at her. Each laugh shared brought them closer, yet every light-hearted moment felt shadowed by the truth that still loomed large. "There's something I need to tell you too, Maria," Richard said suddenly, looking serious once again. "About my past, about why I thought of you the way I did." The depth of his gaze held an unsettling promise. Maria's stomach dropped. She wasn't sure if that was what she wanted to hear. What could he possibly say that would change everything again? As Alex continued mapping out their adventure, a storm of emotions swirled within her. Just as connection seemed to form, the ground felt like it was shifting again beneath them. "I think," Richard's voice broke into her thoughts. "I think I've been running away from something I needed to face. And you, Maria, you may hold the key." Before she could respond, the bells from the cafe's door chimed, and Maria's eyes shot toward the entrance as the atmosphere shifted again. Who else had come looking for answers? Tension coursed through her. What new revelations awaited them now? As the cafe door swung open, a gust of wind swept through, scattering napkins and sending a shiver down Maria's spine. She squinted at the figure slipping into the warm light of the establishment. It was hard to see at first, but as the door clicked shut behind them, familiarity washed over her like a wave. "Lila?" Maria gasped, almost forgetting to breathe. The woman who stood there, with her hair pulled back in a sleek bun and a determined look in her eyes, was someone Maria had not seen in years. "Maria," Lila said, her voice strong yet layered with an urgency that hung thick in the air. "I'm so sorry for just barging in like this, but we need to talk." Richard shifted uncomfortably in his seat, and Alex paused mid-sentence, looking from one adult to another with a child's instinct for noticing tension. Maria felt the weight of Lila's words settle heavily around her, contrasting sharply with the light-hearted pirate adventures Alex had been spinning a moment ago. "Is everything okay?" Maria asked, her heart pounding. Each word that she spoke felt like a fragile thread, ready to snap under the pressure of the unknown. Lila stepped forward, her dark eyes scanning Richard for a brief moment before returning to Maria, her expression solemn. "No, not really." Lila swallowed hard. "I came because I was worried about you. About Alex too." "What do you mean?" Maria could hear the catch in her own voice, the rising worry seeping through her defenses. Lila took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. "I have news about the company. About Richard. It's not just his past that's complicated, Maria. There are things happening now that could change everything." Richard stiffened, defenses rising like armor. "Lila, I think it's best if we keep this between us." The hardness in his voice made it clear he wasn't ready for this confrontation, but Lila shook her head. "No, Richard. She deserves to know. You both do. It's about the decisions that were made, and how they've affected everyone. Her words hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy with unspoken truths. Maria felt a wave of confusion, mixed emotions brewing inside her. She glanced at Alex, who was still clutching his imaginary treasure map, blissfully unaware of the tension. Maybe he was right. Perhaps today could still be filled with adventure. But where was the adventure in this? Lila, please, she pressed. What are you talking about? What does this have to do with us? Lila hesitated, her lips pursed as if deciding how much to reveal. Richard's family, there are old loyalties, family secrets. You see, there's a reason his image of you is skewed and why he struggles to face his past. It's tied to who he is and the expectations that came with his upbringing. A family secret? Maria felt unease creep into her thoughts. Hadn't she just started to build this fragile connection based on honesty? Now, the cracks seemed to deepen with every hidden layer Lila unearthed. Maria, Richard began, but Lila cut him off. I'm not asking you to judge him, but you need to know the truth. This isn't just about struggle anymore. It's about survival in a world they're still trying to control. The weight of those last words reverberated through Maria. Richard's past and secrets were bleeding into her life with Alex, intertwining their fates in ways she never imagined. What happens if I don't like what I hear? Maria whispered, her voice shaking. Would it shatter the fragile world she was building? Richard's gaze softened as he faced her, yet it felt layered with fear and regret. I promise you, whatever it is, I'll tell you everything. Just listen to Lila. And as tension enveloped them once more, the storm that had been brewing inside Maria gathered, ready to explode. Could they truly face whatever lay ahead, or would their newly kindled connection be swept away by the tidal wave of truth? Maria felt herself teetering on the edge of vulnerability. It was time to dive in deep, but was she ready for what that might mean? She took a deep breath, staring into Richard's eyes as she prepared herself for what was to come. Okay, Lila. Tell me everything. Lila nodded, her expression resolute but tinged with sadness. It wasn't just mistakes, it was choices. Choices Richard's family made long before he could even understand them. Choices that have haunted them and have a way of spilling into the present. Richard shifted in his chair, his face taut. Lila, stop. You don't have to. You're wrong, Lila interrupted, her voice sharpening. You think this will protect her? It won't. Maria deserves to know the reality behind your past. Maria squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, trying to absorb the weight of Lila's words. Just tell me, Lila. Please, she whispered, her heart racing. With a deep breath, Lila continued, Richard's family is involved in unethical business practices, Maria. There are threats, buried secrets, guilt hidden like old bones. And it goes beyond his choices. It's a legacy, a shadow that clings to him. If they find out you're involved, well, it could put both you and Alex in danger. Her words pierced through the fog of confusion, and Maria felt her stomach churn. Danger? How? Who are they? People in powerful positions, Lila explained, her brow furrowing. Those who will do anything to keep their secrets safe. Richard's past isn't just tangled, it's a minefield. Richard's hands clenched into fists. I've tried to distance myself from that world. I thought I was free of it, he said, his voice thick with regret. But I can't escape it as easily as I hoped. You're going to need to confront it. Not just for yourself but for Maria and Alex, Lila urged, her voice steady. The truth has a way of catching up with you, Richard. I saw it firsthand. Maria opened her eyes, meeting Richard's gaze. For my son, I'll do anything. But how can I trust you? And what can you possibly reveal that can make us safe? Trust comes slowly, I know, Lila said gently, but if we're going to deal with this together, it starts with honesty. You need to be aware. There are people who don't want you to expose their lies. Are you suggesting I turn to the media? Maria asked, her voice rising, the panic evident. That's insane. No, Lila faltered. It's not about turning anyone in. It's about knowing where the danger lies, so you can protect yourself and Alex. That's all. Silence filled the cafe, the only sound the distant clinking of cups and hushed murmur of patrons. Maria felt the weight of her decisions pressing down on her. Could she really delve into this world of shadows, where Richard's family might lurk? Her instincts screamed at her to pull back, but the warmth of Richard's hand hovering near hers promised some form of solace. What's it going to take, Richard? Maria's voice was barely a whisper, filled with a mix of hope and terror. To make this safe for us? Richard took a deep breath, clearly grappling with the emotions swirling within him. I need to face my family, to unravel the string of choices that have brought us here, and I need you by my side. Maria's heart raced. The thought of confronting danger, walking into a fire that had been brewing for years, led her mind to a dark place. Could she really navigate this twisted web of loyalties and shadows? Suddenly, Alex burst into the conversation, his young voice innocent and bright, cutting through the tension. Mom? Can we go on a treasure hunt now? He looked at them with a big smile, blissfully unaware of the tempest surrounding them. Maria's heart tightened as she looked at her son. He deserved a life filled with light, laughter, and safety, not entangled in adult complications. But as much as she wanted to shield him, Maria knew the truth was the first step toward protection. Okay, but we might need to do some digging first. Richard's eyes softened. And I'll do it together with you. Every step. Maria nodded, their connection tightening. Yet, in the corners of her mind, shadows crept closer, her resolve warring against her fears. Just then, Lila's phone buzzed, pulling her attention away. She glanced at it anxiously, her expression turning suddenly grave. I need to take this. What is it? Richard asked, concern lacing his voice. Lila shook her head, her face pale. I think we might already be too late. Maria's breath hitched, her heart pounding wildly as the implications sunk in. What had they just stepped into? The door swung open again behind Lila, chilling air slicing through the cafe, and as Maria turned, the figure framed in the light stopped her dead in her tracks. A man, tall and shadowy, stood there with a look that screamed trouble. Where is he? The figure demanded, scanning the room with an intensity that turned Maria's blood cold. Courage and fear flooded her senses at once. What would happen next? Maria's heart raced as the stranger's piercing gaze swept across the cafe. She instinctively shifted closer to Alex, the urge to protect him flaring up stronger than ever. The atmosphere grew tense, whispers trailed off and concern etched itself on the faces of patrons. Who are you? Richard demanded, rising to confront the man. His authoritative tone was brave but laced with fear, a stark contrast to the serene environment just moments ago. The figure stepped forward, eyes narrowing as they fell on Richard. You know why I'm here, he said, voice low and threatening, casting a shadow over the entire table. Lila positioned herself protectively in front of Maria and Alex, her expression fraught with alarm. You shouldn't be here. We need to talk in private, she said coolly, hoping to diffuse the tension. Private 1T protect you from the consequences, Lila, the man shot back, his tone dripping with menace. Your secrets have a way of pulling everyone down with you. Maria felt a chill run through her, the reality of their situation crashing over her like a cold wave. The hidden dangers of Richard's past were now standing at their doorstep, demanding attention. What do you want? Maria's voice broke through, steady yet trembling with determination. The man turned, surprised that Maria dared to speak. I'm not here for you, he scoffed. But you're getting tangled in a mess you don't understand. Then tell me. Maria demanded. What are we missing? His eyebrow raised in derision, but he hesitated, clearly assessing her resolve. You think you can shield yourself with courage? There are powers at play here, Maria. If Richard continues down this path, it'll end badly for everyone involved. Enough. Richard interjected, the energy crackling around him. Whatever past you think you can hold over me, it doesn't define my future. But it could destroy it, the man sneered, then stepped back, almost as if willing everyone to contemplate the implications of his words. In that instant, Maria felt the tension snap like a taut string. Listen, she said, voice firm. You don't know what I've fought for, and you certainly don't know what we've lost. I won't let fear dictate our lives or our choices. If this is about the truth, then let us make that clear. Together. The man's lip curled in a smirk. Brave words for someone standing in such deep shadows. But necessary, Richard said, his tone shifting to something more resolute. She's right. The only way out is through the truth. If you know something, spit it out. A flicker of contemplation crossed the man's face before he leaned closer, eyes locking onto Richard. Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you. As he unfolded layers of family secrets and betrayals, pieces began to align, a web of business dealings that laid waste to innocent lives, a history laced with guilt, greed, and corrupted loyalty. Maria listened with her heart pounding, weighty fears crashing against the climb of hope she'd managed to build. Richard was neither the villain nor the knight in shining armor, he was layered with complexity, as vividly human as she was. Finally, the man shifted his weight, preparing to leave. Remember this moment, he warned. You can't outrun your shadows forever. With that, he turned and strode out, leaving a charged silence in his wake. The cafe felt lighter, but Maria knew better than to let relief settle in. Hope tinged the air, but so did uncertainty. Maria, Richard started, remorse woven in his words. No, Richard, she said softly. We'll face this together, but first. He echoed, searching her gaze. First, we need to focus on Alex. He deserves more than a life steeped in drama and secrets. Absolutely, he agreed, determination palpable in his voice. But we also need to confront the past. This is our chance, and I won't let it slip away. Alex watched as they spoke, his innocent eyes flickering back and forth, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Can we be pirates now? He asked again, a plea colored with vulnerability, seeking comfort amidst the turbulence. Yes. Maria answered, a smile breaking through the heaviness. We'll be the bravest pirates ever. Richard leaned down, forcing a smile for Alex. And I'll be the pirate captain. As laughter escaped their lips, the pieces began to fall together, not just the children's innocent adventures but their own joint journey toward honesty and resolution. They had a long way to go, but Maria felt a spark igniting within her. The shadows might linger, but they wouldn't define who they were together. They were crafting their path, one truth at a time, with renewed purpose. They faced the challenges awaiting them, understanding that real strength lay not just in overcoming fears, but in embracing the bonds that brought them together, demonstrating that in love, they could find even the smallest treasure each other. Together, they were ready to navigate any storm that may come, united by purpose, hope, and an unbreakable love. And as laughter danced through the cafe, Maria recognized this was the moment to step into the light, leaving shadows behind for good. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters. Comment below your thoughts on this ending and how you believe love can triumph over challenges. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the power of showing their support.